What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin, John.
And we have yet another album review for you. And believe it or not, one that I forgot was coming out, which is ridiculous because this band puts out an album every year. We are going to go over the latest offering from Werewolves, Die For Us. This also comes out on the 12th of July on Prosthetic Records. This band formed in 2019 in Australia. This is their fifth album in 5 years. Essentially, when we sat down and we're about to review this, we were like, man, it feels like we just went over this band because we did. We went over their album last year, My Enemies Look and Sound Like Me, and I'm pretty sure I've covered like every other album. If it wasn't in a full-on review, it was in a collection update because I absolutely love this band's insane mix of death metal, black metal, grindcore. It's all the fast, angry things ever. Features current and former members of the Berserker and Cynicaltic, namely Dave Haley on drums, who, Cynicaltic is just one of the many bands he's in. And pound for pound, man, there might not be a more aggressively Australian and darkly cynical band out there right now. This band is just nuts. And they pretty much just like to make fun of everything because, I don't know, this album, this band in general, all their albums are loaded with dark humor left and right, and God, I love them for it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I especially love this band for that reason. Not that, I don't like the music, but I like tons of music like this. But that's another thing that I think sets Werewolves apart is that they can do this and not take it seriously. And it's not that they don't take the music seriously, because they 100% do, but when it comes down to things like lyrical themes and just the overall vibe of this band, they're just shitting on everything, and that's how it should be, I think. And again, I didn't know this record was coming out either. Like, when he said, hey, we're doing Werewolves, I said, didn't we just do Werewolves? We did, but here it is again. And a great surprise, because I genuinely adore this band.
And going into this one, I mean, all right, with an album a year, I kind of know what to expect from this band. They really haven't deviated much from their sound. But I will say, if there is one thing that is ever so slightly different on here, it's the fact that I think this might be like the fastest, heaviest album they've put out yet. Generally, their albums are, again, full tilt boogie, blast beats, tremolos, ranging from grindcore to death metal to, just icy cold black metal with alternating vocals, like all the stuff that they've been doing every year since their existence. But I would say that this album might just lay on the gas. Like, this album put a cinder block on the gas pedal and took off like someone blowing by you on 75 North, which is a Midwest reference, but if you're from the Midwest, you know what we're talking about.
It seems like from song to song even, it picks up the pace, which is insane because it's already pretty fast to begin with. But, with the exclusion of one song and maybe one other moment, it doesn't slow, at all. It just keeps moving. I am, once again, very tired for Dave Haley. I love that man and his talents and what he brings to the table as a drummer, but man.
Dem Haley boys, because Joe Haley actually did the mix and master on here, I believe. So, yeah, anytime those two get together, generally it's called Cynicaltic, but, whenever they get together, I don't know, there's just something magical about just their insane level of talent and, God, the outright aggression. And I feel like this band in particular is just an outlet for Dave wanting to just blast all the time, because that is predominantly the performance on here. In fact, I will go as far as to say that I'm pretty sure I heard every fast drum beat a person can do in the span of about 35 minutes on here. And Dave does them to perfection. And that kind of drives the album behind the absolutely maniacal riffing on here.
And it's weird because it's so catchy. There are tons of awesome tremolo moments. The song The Company Wolves, that is loaded with awesome, catchy tremolo harmonies. And their ability to change modes, often at a stop-on-a-dime pace, going from extreme, grindy brutality to blackened tremolos and a bunch of black metal. Spittle-flecked rant, Fuck You Got Mine.
I love the song titles.
Yep.
And the pace of this album, which, again, is breakneck, it just keeps you on your toes the entire time, to the point where like, sometimes the general complaint with like some bands is like, man, this song feels longer than it actually is. There are songs in here that feel shorter than they actually are. Like, there's a couple moments where it's like, man, dude, that felt like it was about a 2-minute burner. It's like, psych, it was 3.5 minutes. Like, Jesus Christ. Songs like My Hate Is Strong and Beaten Back to Life, those songs move at a mile a minute. I don't even think there's like room for a groovy section on Beaten Back to Life. Like, there might be like a brief second, but that is almost a no breaks run of a song. And the most exhausting, I think, 3 minutes? I don't know. It sounded like it was about 2.5 minutes. I think if they played any faster, the whole band would explode. But the songs are just heightened aggression. But again, that constant caveat between like black metal, sinister, just dark melodies, and then just outright vicious brutality. I would describe this album as violently evil, but it's not like, I don't know, cavemanish. Like, there's so many intricacies and all these wild riffs and the quick changes between them. Like, there are dynamics on here that, just are almost dizzying, and you kind of don't expect that from, music that is just fiercely feral like this band puts out.
And a bunch of crazy riffing too, and techie, but not in the sense of like techie noodly. Techie in the sense of like, you're hitting 15, 16 frets in some crazy ascending pattern in the matter of 15 seconds. Songs like Spittle Flecked Rant and the crazy, thrashy technical riffing in We All Deserve to Be Slaves. It's nuts.
That transition at the end of We All Deserve to Be Slaves, I think, is just one of the big standout moments in terms of, oh my God, the song just went absolutely apeshit. Stomps in, it's a little bit groovier from the rip, but inevitably things get faster because that's what happens on this album. But it hits this isolated riff, and it's very thrashy, and you're kind of waiting for like kind of a groove to come in, because you've kind of been denied a lot of groove, up until this point. But it comes in blasty, and then all of a sudden you get these really wild technical runs of like these crawling harmonies. And this band is just impressive in terms of like their quick changes and transitions and such, because nothing on here feels knee-jerk. It feels very like methodical and still retains every ounce of brutality. Like, this is kind of comparable to like, I would say like Angel Corpse, or by default like also Perdition Temple as well. But again, like dynamics that are just kind of interesting because they're a little polarizing in terms of like the styles they do. Like, Spittle Flecked Rant is notably a little bit more punky, like right out of the rip. Like, it's got D beats, down-picked riffs. It's like the more simplistic, more primal side of the band. But as the song goes on, it has like these wild technical moments that feel very juxtaposed from how it started. And it's kind of cool to see him kind of play off of that. So it's not just trading between black metal and death metal in here, but it's also trading between like different, techniques and such that seem, again, like kind of on opposite sides of the fence.
Yeah, and you'd think that generally that wouldn't work, but I guess when you write with precision and intent, as far as making an album is concerned, you can tell that they didn't just throw this record together and it's not just a collection of blast beats and everything faster than everything else. Like, you can tell it's well thought out, methodical.
Which is strange because, again, they put out an album a year.
Right.
Like, and they all have like other bands, I'm sure, but I know Dave 100% does. But yeah, like, to put out quality like this and something that is intensely fast and technical and just bonkers with well thought out, just twisted lyrics. I only wish I had the lyric sheet, but I did make out some words on here. It's mostly a lot of words that I'll probably get in trouble for saying, because the last review I dropped the C-bomb and there goes monetization. So, I'm not gonna do that this time. But what this band does is essentially like, they're like a gravity well for all the negative aspects of humanity, and they're pretty much just calling the entire planet out on its shit. And, on the surface, you could look at some of these lyrics and go, oh my God, that's absolutely horrible. Because, I'm sure there's like something like, this next song's about kicking a homeless person and kicking his dog too. They're not serious about it. They're not condoning all these actions. They're just saying like, yeah, this is probably going on right now. So, because this is the world we live in, because it's always sucked.
This world is kind of doomed in that aspect, especially in recent years.
It's a race to extinction, and we want to win because we're number one. that's, I mean, that might be America. I don't know, that might be just people in
It's
general.
like a competition between Werewolves and Cattle Decap as to who hates humanity more.
I want to see that tour now.
I do too. Actually, that'd be pretty sick. Now, with all this brutality and unrelenting speed, this record is not without moments of at least being slower. There is a breakdown in the first track. Die For Us has a really unrelenting, heavy breakdown. But what was much needed by the time we got to it was the song Under a Urinal Moon, which, first of all, I love that title. That's pretty funny. But that song is notably slower, focused more on a mid-tempo groove, and one of the most, I think, evil, dissonant harmony moments on this record. And that melody, harmony / thing carries throughout the song. To me, it straight like Dave Vincent era Morbid Angel.
See, I honestly got, I mean, and it probably is like a semi reference there. Mayhem. I mean, I imagine it's more of a reference to Under a Funeral Moon, but I don't like that album very much by Dark Throne. So I'm going to go with Mayhem. But it's probably the most blackened song on the album, and black metal is kind of a seasoning, and it's a seasoning that shows up very frequently. Like, in terms of riff changes, it can go from just like savage, grindy death metal riffs to like black metal, cold, icy tremolos in a split second. But they're generally not the bulk of the song. Like, I would say they're like a third of them. This one, almost the entire song is a black metal song, and it's a slow build, which is cool because inevitably I knew they were going to get fast because fast is what this band does. But I like the fact that they waited. They're giving our necks a little bit of a break. Like, here, now you can, this is good. Don't worry, you know it's coming, but maybe a little bit of a breather here.
Ice yourself. Yeah, it takes time to build, and that's something that really doesn't appear for this band much at all. Usually they're full tilt boogie, and that's that.
Yeah, they usually just give you a hilarious sample in between songs, and then we're off to the races once again, which the samples once again are on point. They're hilarious, and they are aggressively Australian.
Yeah, the end sample in the title track is, I think, one of my favorite moments of the album, at least in a non-musical sense. The guy's talking about, things not being digestible, and like, I really can't get behind this, and just fucking unlistenable, and it's awesome.
There's one that is a conversation between two gentlemen where one asks the other, have you ever considered violence as, like, not an option? And the gentleman quickly goes, no, I always consider violence, essentially. But I love just the vibe of this band, the feel of it. Even, when they kind of shift more towards, like, black metal, I think they do it with, like, again, this razor sharp, sort of vicious death metal energy. Like, it kind of comes off like sounding like Impaled Nazarene or Melikash, except they were bitten by a wombat with rabies. I went with a wombat because I'm reasonably sure if anything else bites them from Australia, they probably die instantly.
Sure.
In terms of any negatives on here, they're pretty minor because, once again, this band kind of just does what they do again. And again, possibly more violently, which slight little knock here. I do think that this album is missing groove. I do think the last one had a few more groovy sections to kind of just like let you lay into like a good galloping riff. This album is full tilt boogie almost from start to stop. And I do think the production here is a little bit more compressed, but I kind of get why, because I think this album is possibly even busier than the last one. They're just squeezing in like every possible violent, nasty riff they possibly can. And again, it doesn't come across as cluttered or messy. It's just insanely violent.
Which is weird because it is still layered to shit. There's a lot of sound there, and the fuzz over everything just makes it sound more chaotic.
The constant back and forth in terms of like black metal vocals to death metal vocals. I think the death metal vocals are a little bit more prominent here, especially when they get down and do like some deep, brutal roars. But yeah, dude, it's a lot to absorb. But that's kind of Werewolves. Like,
yeah.
They just kind of come in and just, I don't know, attack you like a swarm of murder hornets.
As far as any negatives for me, I really don't have any. I will slightly disagree and say that there is a lot of groove on here. It's just very fast-paced. Like, it's still groovy. There were a ton of, like, stomping moments. Like the song Fuck You Got Mine. There's a cool stomping moment in that. There's another
anthem to greed.
There's another cool stomping groove in Stay Down. It's in there. It's just not your typical groove where you get a chance to recover from the violent assault that your neck took. So, I mean, beyond that, though, I don't really have any negatives. This band is super good at what they do, and for some reason keep doing it every year, which is baffling to me, but whatever.
So overall, I'm going to give this one a solid 4. Like, this is a banger through and through, and I feel like if I knock this album, I'm kind of knocking all their albums because it isn't that different from anything that they've put out so far, but they're hitting that same mark that I love. Like, this is kind of that same thing I get with, like, Immolation, Cannibal Corpse, Incantation. They made a Werewolves album, and that is exactly what I want them to do because I love what this band does. I would say, again, like, the only thing that might be slightly different is I think this one might be even more aggressive, which
it is.
You know, maybe werewolves get more aggressive as they get older. I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure werewolves there are marsupials. I saw that Howling movie. It was stupid. And surprisingly, not the worst Howling movie. That one definitely goes to another one that I would never watch again. But overall, I love this album. And I kind of knew I would. It's just vicious. It's on point, just twisted, gnarly, violent riffing. Dave once again puts in an insane drum performance that I'm absolutely convinced that he's probably a cyborg. Yeah, pretty much if you love stuff like, I mean, Aborted's definitely in there. Yep. But, I mean, I would say, like, Angel Corpse, Perdition Temple, God, I don't know, anything that is fast, brutal, but also evil at the same time. And if you love dark humor like we do, then definitely read the lyric book when you get this album, because I recommend you get this album and then get all their other albums, because Werewolves rules.
Man, it's tough to follow a review like that, huh? It's also 4 stars for me, and again, I knew what I was getting into. I just said, all right. Actually, it was funny. Before we started the album, we both stretched.
Yep. Oh, I cracked my neck multiple times.
Yep. Because I knew that it was going to be violent. We are correct in saying that this one is possibly more violent, possibly the most aggressive thing they've put out to date yet, which is insane because if you've listened to any of their records, they are the epitome of aggression. Again, very riffy, tons of blackened moments, tons of grindy moments, some thrashy moments, which I didn't necessarily see coming, especially at the pace at which they came. There's even, again, a slowed down, more mid-tempo groove, which is fucking sweet. Their stop on a dime changes, their mood changes, the fact that everything sounds evil, like everything, even at the speed of light, they still manage to throw in some sort of crazy evil sounding tremolo, and I just adore that. Actually, I was thinking about that today at work. I adore evil music, and this is certainly evil. I gave myself whiplash listening to this album, and you'll figure it out real soon, because you'll find yourself banging your head at a BPM you didn't think you could bang your head at. Dave Haley, once again, is insane. I bow to you, sir. That's insane drum work. I love Necrotic, of course, and I love this performance in Werewolves. This is a pretty awesome, vicious album. Once again, yeah, Morbid Angel, Aborted, some black metal, which I can't name because I'm still getting into black metal, but you get the idea. I would definitely recommend checking this record out and all the rest of Werewolves, because if you like this review about this album, you're going to like the rest of their albums, because this is what they do, and they do it well. So, yeah, Werewolves, Die For Us. Go out and get it, and please read the lyrics.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size. And we even have hats. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
Tons of stuff going on in Thralls of Metal, album reviews, states of metal, is it metal, is it not metal? This guy constantly makes collection updates because he can't stop buying CDs. If you were here, you'd understand. If you've seen that video on Instagram, that's our most viewed video of all time of Nick's massive collection.
It got bigger.
Discography rankings. Listen, I know we've been promising that we would do the Meshuggah ranking this weekend, but it got pushed back once again. Having a life is difficult, you guys.
That's why I don't have one.
Right. Well, so 4 other people in this project have lives, and having those lives is difficult, and things happen. So yeah, but sure, your ranking coming. But anyway, all this stuff that we do at Thralls of Metal all the time is all for you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you to our family and our friends and our subscribers and everybody that's become a huge part of Thralls of Metal. It's not just a couple dudes sitting in a basement anymore. It's a couple dudes and like 18,000 subscribers, which is crazy. Thank you for that. We appreciate you.
Still sitting in a basement, though.
I mean, we are still in a basement.
100%. Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. And again, tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome. And we will catch you later.